Alright, so welcome to this new module. In this module, you will learn about project service automation, and in this video, we'll talk about project service automation, important terminologies. Now, what is a project service automation? So project service automation is a functionality or is an app in Dynamics 365 CRM where you can manage an end-to-end project for your company, right? So if you're executing project, maybe you're implementing Microsoft Dynamics to your customers, or you are doing a construction work, right, for your customers, then you can manage those projects in the project service automation right from the beginning of initiation till the closing of the project, right? So let's talk about some important terms, and then I'm going to show you the demo of the application. So the first important term is the project opportunity. So opportunities are the warm leads who are interested in your project services. Now this is similar to the sales module. In sales module also you have leads and opportunities. So opportunities are warm leads. They are interested in your product or services. In this case, they are interested in your project services. So there's a separate form for project opportunities, like the entity is same. Entity is like an object which is the same for the sales module with the project module, but there's a separate form that you're going to interact with and which has project related details. Whenever somebody is interested in your project services, you create first project opportunities, and there you define all the product and project line details, like what kind of product you will sell and what kind of project services you will give, like construction or subcontracting or maybe like implementation. Those kind of things you can define. Next, we have project codes. So when a potential customer asks for more information about the project, like what kind of product you are going to give them, what will be the pricing, the payment terms, all those things, then a project quotation is created from the opportunity and it is sent to the customer or the potential customer. So you can create one or more quotation for a project opportunities, right? Or in case if you want to start right from the quotation process, you can skip the project opportunity process. You can just create the quotation directly. The next one is projects. So under project, you define the scope, estimates, timelines, and resource required to meet the objective. In this case, what you do, you define the scope of work. Okay, it means you define the schedule, which is also called as work breakdown structure, which has all the tasks that you will perform in executing the project, and also how much time it is going to take for each task and who will be the resource working on that particular task, right? So that's something you define in a project, and of course the project is undertaken to meet certain objectives, right? Alternatively, you can also quickly create a project using the project template. So in case if you do certain projects again and again, instead of creating it from the scratch, you can create a template which you can reuse it as you get the new project. Okay, so all the WBS or schedule, the resources, the effort, everything, the cost, everything will be copied from the template, and you can just make changes and get started. So that is there in projects. Next important term is the project contract. So once you won the quotation, you create a project contract to make it official, right? So project contract is created when the customer has agreed to do business with you, right? And once they confirm, you mark the quotation as won, it automatically creates a project contract. Now, project contract is same as the order that we have seen in the sales module. So the base entity is same, only thing is the form that we have is different. So this is the project contract form, right? And you can create one or more project contracts for a quote. That is also possible. It officially kicks off the project. So that's something you can consider this as when the contract is signed with your customer. The next one is invoices. So when you have the project contract, now your resources will start working on this, and your job is to now provide resources. The resources will work, they will enter their details, the time and maybe expenses, and then you will bill to the customer. So an invoice is to bill the customer for the project that your team is working on or you're working on. So when you create a project, you set the frequency to generate invoices. So how frequently you will send the invoice to the customer, like it's a monthly, weekly, or it's once in 2 months, or it's quarterly. So based on that you define, and system is going to generate the invoice for you, and you can send it to the customer. And an invoice can be created manually from the projects as well. Okay, so invoice is created to bill your customers and receive payment from them. The next important term is the schedule board. So the schedule board shows all the resources that you have in the organization, their availability, and it also allows you to book resources for a project from the schedule board. Okay, so there are multiple views available, like you can see the resource schedule by hours, days, weeks, and months. Okay, and you can check how many are available, what is their availability, and based on that you can book the resource for a project from there itself, right? So that is the schedule board. The next one is resources. So resource, you can book resources against the project for scheduling and invoicing. We all know that when you want to execute a project, you need people or you need equipments to execute the project, right? So you capture all those things in under resources. So the resources can include users, contacts, accounts, or even equipment, right? So all those things you capture here under resources. The next is the time entries. When your users start or the resources start working on a project, they spend some time, right? So they need to keep track of their time, how much time they are spending on a particular project or an activity. So they enter their timesheet, which has like time entries in Dynamics 365 and which can be approved by the manager, right? So number of hours, how many hours they have worked in a day for which activity, those details are defined. So you can define it like in minutes, hours, or days. The next one is expenses. So like time, when your resources are spending time on a project, you bill them against the time they have spent. There's also a component called expense, which they do against the projects, maybe like a travel expense, hotel expense, or meals expense, right? So those kind of expenses are there. So these are also entered by resources on a periodic basis, which can be billed at cost to the client, right? And also the frequency of entering the expenses may vary based on the project requirements. So I hope you get the basic idea of what are the important terms that you must be aware of before you can actually start using the application. So that's for this video, and in the next video I'll show you the demo of the application.